respiration in plants. Now let us start with today's episode. Now, what are the learning objectives of today's lesson? We will know about what is respiration, and we are going to discuss about the different types of respiration. So how much ever is there in your syllabus of 9th standard? So more you are going to study in 11th and 12th, not in 9th standard. So we will do that in brief only. Okay, let us now move on to the first slide. So what is respiration actually? Now respiration is the release of energy by the oxidation of various organic molecules. So those organic molecules like organic molecules of glucose and starch which have been stored by the photosynthesis, they are actually used for in cellular use, is known as respiration. These organic molecules of glucose are broken down for cellular use, and this is called respiration. So what happens in this process? So in other terms, you can also say respiration is a release of energy in the form of ATP. So what is ATP? ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So it is adenosine triphosphate when the glucose molecules are broken down to carbon dioxide and water molecules. So what is happening actually in the reaction? The reaction happens in this way, that is C6H12O6, that is glucose. So glucose combines with 6 molecules of oxygen, and at the end product, as a result, it gives out carbon dioxide, water and energy or ATP. So this adenosine triphosphate is the ultimate energy which is being produced by this process. And the process of respiration, actually we know that it takes place in humans as well as in animals as well as in plants. It should take place throughout the day, 24 hours a day. But photosynthesis, whereas it is not taking 24 hours a day, because it can take place only in presence of sunlight. Now, this respiration is initiated in the cytoplasm and is completed in the mitochondria. So in the cytoplasm, which part is initiated? That is not required. Oxygen is not required. That is the anaerobic part. And we all know that mitochondria contains oxygen. That is there. The Krebs cycle is. Sorry, there is a spelling mistake. The Krebs cycle is completed in the mitochondria. So let us see what is happening here in this process. Now here let us see this diagram. So this is a pictorial representation. So what is happening here? Now the first part we will see that glycolysis. So in this actually in this respiration, 3 processes are involved. First one is glycolysis, then comes Krebs cycle, and then we can say that the electron transport chain or the electron transport process comes in. These two happens in Krebs cycle and electron transport chain. They represent a main part in aerobic respiration, and glycolysis is the main part in anaerobic respiration. So what is happening in glycolysis? So glycolysis is the starting point of respiration. It is the starting point. So each molecule of glucose is, that is 6 carbon molecule, is broken down into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. It is broken down into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid by the process of glycolysis, or you can say glycolysis. It occurs in cytoplasm of the cell and not in mitochondria. It does not require oxygen, so no oxygen is required here. It does not require oxygen. No oxygen is required here. What is the ultimate fate of glucose molecules? It depends actually upon the availability of oxygen and the breakdown of glucose molecule with the build-up of ATP. We can see here what is happening here. Now this 2 molecules of pyruvic acid, it enters the mitochondria. So what happens when it enters the mitochondria? It releases, again we can say that when it enters the mitochondria, there is aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is happening there. So then what happens there? During aerobic respiration, we know that sufficient amount of oxygen is available so that each pyruvate molecule, it enters the mitochondria, and where it is completely oxidized to form CO2, and here CO2 is formed and water is also formed as an end product, and this take place in actually 3 steps. First is pyruvate oxidation, next comes the Krebs cycle, or we can say it is called tricarboxylic acid cycle, in which the acetylcholine or acetyl CoA undergoes a cycle of chemical reaction. So pyruvic acid, it is giving the end product as acetyl CoA. Then that acetyl CoA, it undergoes a cycle of reactions to produce hydrogen, and this hydrogen in turn, which enters into the electron transport system or the respiratory chain, drives a series of chemical reactions here to produce or release enough energy to produce ATP. So this chemical reaction we will see later. So this is the main part. Here glycolysis, from there 2 pyruvic acid molecules enter the aerobic chain. From that 2-acetylcholine A is produced, that enters the Krebs cycle. It gives rise to a cycle of reactions to produce hydrogen, that enters here again. And in each step we can see that some amount of ATP is released. So ATP, what is ATP? That is the energy released to be utilized by the cell and to do the work. And this carbon dioxide which is released in every step, it is the waste which has to be excreted out or exhaled out during and after respiration. Now let us move. Now here we will discuss about 2 types of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic. So what is aerobic respiration? Here we will say aerobic respiration, that is first part, that is anaerobic respiration or glycolysis, where oxygen is not present. Okay, where oxygen is present, so here this part is anaerobic respiration. So glucose to pyruvic acid and 2 molecules of ATP are produced. And anaerobic respiration ends when the aerobic respiration starts, when the oxygen is present and Krebs cycle is happening and oxidative phosphorylation or electron transport chain reactions are happening. They produce 36 molecules of ATP. Now together in this respiration process 38 molecules of ATP are produced. Okay, is it clear? So 36 ATP are produced, and in this anaerobic process 2 ATP, and aerobic process 36 ATP are produced. Here in this diagram also you can see the same thing is happening. Glycolysis, glucose to pyruvate, then pyruvate is converting to 2-acetylcholine A, then that enters the Krebs cycle, and that is again entering the electron transport system. So in each step 2 ATP here, 2 ATP here, and 34 ATPs here is produced, and totally 38 ATP is the end product of this cellular respiration. Now we will see the definition of aerobic and anaerobic respiration in detail. Now here we see what is aerobic respiration. So respiration that occurs in presence of oxygen is called aerobic respiration, and this is occurring in mitochondria. So here we can see that this part is called the aerobic respiration, which occurs in presence of oxygen. Oxygen is present here. Just go through it. In the previous 2 slides also I have discussed the same thing. Conversion of pyruvate to acetylcholine A, then tricarboxylic acid cycle, and then electron transport system. Now we will come to anaerobic respiration. First let us see about the chemical reaction what is happening in aerobic respiration. Let us see it quickly. So what is happening here? Now in aerobic respiration we can see that 1 molecule of glucose now first in glycolysis in the cytoplasm in the form of anaerobic reaction, what was happening? No oxygen was there. In the cytoplasm, glycolysis happened. So what was formed there? There was two molecules of pyruvic acid, CH3COOH. So this is pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid was formed here. Okay, pyruvic acid was formed here, and that entered the Krebs cycle in mitochondria. So that Krebs cycle is only happening in presence of 6 molecules of oxygen. So this is Krebs cycle. It is happening in mitochondria. And what is happening there? It is happening in mitochondria. Now, what is the end product of that? The end product of that is 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O plus 38 ATP. So this is the overall reaction, right? We can, no need to break down everything. It is the overall reaction what is happening there. So it is the chemical reaction of aerobic respiration. So if we start from here, actually from here if we start, this is happening. Now next we will move on to the anaerobic part. So anaerobic part, what is happening? That is called, actually what is happening in absence of oxygen, this anaerobic respiration is happening. So anaerobic respiration, we can say that after the pyruvate, which is not entering the mitochondria, it is converted into ethyl alcohol. We should know that the pyruvate, full pyruvate is not entering the mitochondria. The part which is not entering, that is converted to ethyl alcohol or ethanol in plants, and that is converted to lactic acids in animal, which is not entering the mitochondria. So a number of plants and microorganisms such as yeast, they obtain energy through anaerobic respiration only. So we will see the chemical reaction of this anaerobic respiration also. So let us see the chemical reaction, what is happening there, where there is no oxygen. So let us see the chemical reaction here. We will write the chemical reaction here. Try to understand, and these chemical reactions are actually very important for you all, and you need to memorize this chemical reaction. So C6H12O6. Now glycolysis is happening here. So no O2 is required. Now again we will write the same reaction, pyruvic acid, CH3COOH. So pyruvic acid here, pyruvic acid or pyruvate, we can say that here they are not entering the mitochondria. So fermentation is happening here in the cytoplasm itself. Fermentation is happening here in the cytoplasm. No oxygen is there. So what is the end product here? The end product here will be ethyl alcohol. So C2H5OH. I think you all have studied in chemistry the chemical formula of ethyl alcohol, plus 2 CO2 plus 2 ATP, and this ATP is energy. So the part of pyruvate or the part of pyruvic acid which is not entering the mitochondria will here be converted to ethyl alcohol in plants, and they will release carbon dioxide, which has to be released as the waste material to the atmosphere, and 2 molecules of ATP are. So this is the chemical formula of anaerobic respiration. Now let us see in the last slide what we want to discuss. So what is ATP actually? ATP is the energy currency of the cell. Now what is happening every time? So all activities inside a living cell require energy which is available in the form of ATP. ATP, what is ATP? It is also called the energy currency of the cell. ATP is only hydrolyzed and it gives us a large amount of energy. Now as ATP can be transported very rapidly around the cells because it is very, very, very small in size and can supply energy wherever it is needed. So 36 molecules of ATP are released per molecule of glucose as a result of aerobic respiration. 2 molecules of ATP were released as a result of anaerobic respiration. So total 38 molecules of ATP are released. Total 38 molecules of ATP are released. So keep in mind that this respiration process gives you 38 molecules of ATP per molecule of glucose as a result of aerobic respiration. Okay, so keep it clear in your mind. Go through your textbook, go through each and every step which I have taught. If you are having any doubts, please ask me questions in my comment box. Don't forget to ask me whatever doubts you are having, so that I can come back to you in the next session whenever I'm doing the next session. And in the next video, obviously, I'll be discussing about the anabolic catabolic processes, the aerobic and anaerobic respiration differences, and obviously the differences between photosynthesis, respiration, and all. So, this is the first part of respiration in plants I am discussing. And in the next episode, the rest I'll be discussing with you all. So as of now, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like and share my videos. So today, the first part of respiration is completed. Thank you.